Alexander Isach may no longer be a Liverpool priority in move-on verdict. The star striker is digging his heels in for a move to Liverpool. Alexander Isach could still arrive at Anfield before the end of the window. Alexander Isach is digging his heels in at Newcastle United, trying to force the club to sell him in the 3 weeks between now and the end of the transfer window. But some fans in the Echo comments section are saying that Liverpool may well need to turn their attention to other issues first, which may scupper the whole deal. Newcastle rejected Liverpool's first bid for their star striker, Isak, and there has been no movement on the Reds' end since. Journalist David Ornstein reports that Isak has no wish to reintegrate with the Magpies squad after being made to train alone, even if he isn't sold this summer. Isak will not feature for Newcastle's Premier League opener against Aston Villa, according to manager Eddie Howe, showing that the relationship between the player and the club has broken down. Newcastle's public position is still that he is not for sale and will be priced accordingly, and it remains to be seen whether any other club will be able to strike a deal for the 25-year-old between now and the end of the window. Some fans think that Isak is no longer the priority for Liverpool, and that events may have passed him by, with the Reds' defense now the focus. Reader WQIU 2003 says, Isak is a good player, but as a Liverpool fan, I wouldn't want the club to spend £100 million on him. That money would be better spent on getting a good CB. Just move on and build the squad. Commenter. Theshield agrees. We should have dropped the Isak issue ages ago and gone elsewhere. We definitely need a CB as well, so we need to get a move on. Gil says Isak may not be the type of striker they need. I reiterate, it was a mistake to sell Nunez. The defensive weakness is pretty obvious, and it will be costly. Buying Isak is a waste of time and money. We need strong forwards who can fight for the ball. Others say that the Community Shield loss showed that Liverpool still need forwards. Brewski too writes, we cannot lose 3 forwards and replace them with 1 and expect to get the same results. When Ekitike came off in the Palace game, we had no one up front, no recognized striker. We need a couple of strikers unless Slot intends to use Rio. If that's the case, we still need a world-class striker. Things are getting too close to the wire with the Isak transfer for my liking, but who knows? We may hopefully pull it off. Guenheim is a must for my money. Should we have any injuries during the season, we will have a hole we cannot fill. If Rodrigo is willing to make the switch to Liverpool, then we need to do it, before the likes of Arsenal and City make a move. Biggin says, it's looking unlikely we will sign Isak, which will be a major blow. There is no way we win the league with our present attack and defense. On our Facebook page, Sharon Lowe says, Isak has made all the right moves in his decision to want to play for Liverpool. Now they need to put in the right offer to prove their intent. Ben Spindler writes, Ekitike was brilliant at Wembley, but I think Isak scores the 2 he missed, and we win that into the 90, taking nothing away from Palace though. DD says, after the game yesterday, after the haste to sell Diaz and Nunez, we should buy him. JT adds, £150 million is not worth it. Go get 2 more CBs in, then sign another affordable striker. Newcastle fans are naive. They talked about punishing Isak by putting him on reserves, not playing him, not paying him, etc. I'd say go ahead, do that to an already disgruntled player. By January, the fans and Eddie Howe can't wait to offload Isak. Why Liverpool can't afford to wait 12 months for Mark Guenheim, as Oliver Glasner's stance revealed. Liverpool are interested in signing both Mark Guenheim and Giovanni Laney this summer, but there is one they simply cannot afford to miss out on. Mark Guenheim of Crystal Palace continues to be linked with a move to Liverpool. They say you wait ages for a bus and then 2 come along at once. That very much seems to be the case for Liverpool, with centre-back long viewed by supporters as a position in desperate need of reinforcement this summer. With Joe Gomez's persistent injury issues and the sale of Jarell Quansah to Bayer Leverkusen, Arne Slot heads into Friday's Premier League opener against Bournemouth with just 2 fit senior centre-backs at his disposal. That may be about to change, however, with Liverpool stepping up their pursuit of not just Crystal Palace's Mark Guenheim, but also Parma teenager Giovanni Laney, hence 2 arriving at once. Palace chairman Steve Parish admitted over the weekend, following the London club's Community Shield triumph over Liverpool on penalties, that they cannot afford to lose Guenheim for free next summer. His comments strongly suggested a deal could be done before the transfer deadline, unless a new contract is agreed. While some reports suggest Liverpool's pursuit of Guenheim is progressing well, others have taken a more cautious view. The Guardian's Ed Aarons claims Palace boss Oliver Glasner would prefer to keep the 25-year-old and see out his contract as they prepare for a European campaign, albeit only in the UEFA Europa Conference League. That same report adds that Guenheim is prepared to remain at Palace for one more year if a deal cannot be agreed. It's also worth noting that clubs such as Barcelona and Juventus are expected to show interest next summer should he become a free agent, which only adds urgency for Liverpool to act now and avoid competition down the line. Guenheim may favor a switch to Anfield this summer, according to reports, but that could easily change if one of Europe's other heavyweights such as Barcelona joins the race. He represents the ideal addition to Slot's squad this summer as they aim to retain their Premier League title and mount a deeper run in the Champions League. Simply put, Liverpool cannot afford to miss out on him. As already mentioned, depth at center-back is a serious concern, and the season hasn't even truly begun. Quansah is gone, Gomez is injured, and only Virgil van Dijk and Ibrahima Konate are fit and available. There may be some versatility in the squad, with midfielders like Ryan Gravenberch and Wataru Endo capable of filling in if needed. But Liverpool have already learned the hard way what a lack of depth can do. During the injury crisis of 2020-21, they lost the ability to defend their title and almost missed out on a top-4 finish entirely. Leone alone cannot be viewed as sufficient depth for a squad aiming to compete on all fronts. At just 18 and with only one full senior season under his belt, he should be seen as one for the future. A smart signing to get ahead of the curve before other top clubs come calling further down the line. Guenheim, however, is a signing for the present and is someone who would provide Liverpool with the depth and quality to rotate Van Dijk and Konate regularly. That's a luxury Slot arguably lacked last season, as he clearly didn't place full trust in Quansah, and that was reflected in the 22-year-old's limited minutes. Liverpool were right to move Quansah on, as he will benefit from being first choice elsewhere. The inclusion of a buyback clause in the deal suggests the club recognizes his potential and have left the door open for a future return. But that move only makes sense if the player brought in to replace him is an upgrade and capable of making an immediate impact. Guenheim is that player. His quality, leadership, and contract situation make him a no-brainer. It's also worth remembering that Liverpool face a similar dilemma with Konate, who is now entering the final year of his own contract. Whether a renewal can be agreed remains to be seen, and it is no surprise Real Madrid are reportedly keeping a close eye on the situation. Guenheim's arrival would provide a buffer against that scenario. He would already have a year under his belt if Konate were to depart, which would soften the blow and ensure continuity. And with minimal, if any, competition for his signature this summer, Guenheim is simply a signing Liverpool cannot afford to wait on, or risk missing out on altogether. Liverpool submit €145 million offer for Alexander Isach. Liverpool have reportedly submitted a fresh bid worth €145 million for one-away Newcastle United striker Alexander Isach. The Sweden superstar is desperate to join Arne Slot's side before the summer transfer window ends on the 1st of September, and Liverpool have lodged a second offer for his services, having seen their opening bid of €127.5 million, £110 million, rejected. That is according to ex-account Indy Kayla, who posted on social media. The situation with Alexander Isach at Newcastle United is reaching a boiling point. Tensions are so high that some officials and players are completely ignoring him around the training ground. It's clear there's a rift. Sources suggest that Captain Jamal Lascelles has even advised the club owners to consider Isak's wishes, indicating that this isn't just a minor issue, could affect harmony going forward. Adding to the saga, Isak has been told to avoid being seen alone in Newcastle city centre, while Liverpool's interest is ongoing. We understand Liverpool are offering £120 million up front, with potential add-ons pushing the total bid to a staggering £125 million, €145 million. Newcastle United haven't rejected this latest proposal, but will only accept once new replacements arrive. Nicholas Jackson, Chelsea, Yoane Wissa, Brentford, and Samu Agahawa, Porto, have all been linked with a move to Newcastle in recent weeks, with the club moving on to alternative targets after losing the battle to sign both Hugo Ekitike and Benjamin Sesko. Isak handed in a transfer request in late July, while he reportedly has left his home in Newcastle after being excluded from a family day last week. What has Eddie Howe said about Alexander Isach? Newcastle boss Eddie Howe has been asked about Isak's future on a number of occasions throughout pre-season, but he has remained tight-lipped regarding questions over the Sweden star's long-term future at St. James's Park. After Newcastle's 2-0 defeat to Atletico Madrid on Sunday, Howe told reporters, "I think everything is in play. I've said many times he is contracted to us. He is our player. The club make the decision on his future. I don't know what that will be. Of course I have a preferred outcome. I want the best and the strongest squad possible, but I also want players that really want to play for this football club." Isak, who scored 27 goals in 42 games last season, has 3 years remaining on his current contract at Newcastle, while his estimated transfer value, ETV, stands at €117.1 million. Liverpool stepping up bid to sign Palace's Guehi. Liverpool are stepping up their attempts to sign Crystal Palace and England centre-back Mark Guenheim. Palace captain Guehi has a year left on his contract, but chairman Steve Parish said earlier this week he could be sold this summer to avoid him moving on a free transfer in 12 months' time. Sources have told BBC Sport that Liverpool have held initial talks with a view to signing the 25-year-old before the summer transfer window shuts. Liverpool are also trying to sign Parma centre-back Giovanni Leni. The 18-year-old Italian is not seen as a potential rival for Guehi, but more as one for the future. Guehi was the subject of bids worth up to £65 million from Newcastle last year. The FA Cup winners are believed to want £40 million for him now, but Liverpool want to pay less than that. The Reds have already spent about £270 million this summer, though they have recouped about £170 million through player sales. They have also had a £110 million bid for Alexander Isach rejected by Newcastle. Though sources have told BBC Sport the Swede remains determined to move to Anfield. Signing Guehi and Isak would take Liverpool's summer spending above £400 million. Alexander Isak's phone call to Eddie Howe speaks volumes amid Newcastle United and Liverpool saga. Newcastle United's world was rocked when it emerged that Alexander Isach wants to leave the club. On the 24th of July 2025, news broke that Alexander Isach wanted to leave Newcastle United. He was not going on the club's pre-season trip to Asia, and he has not trained with the rest of the Newcastle United squad since. Isak wants to join Liverpool, but it remains to be seen if the Reds will meet his £150 million asking price. Whether they do or not, Newcastle United's stance is clear. Isak is not for sale, with the 25-year-old on course to stay at St. James's Park. Meanwhile, that is not what the Sweden international wants, having informed the club of his desire to leave long before the 24th of July. Alexander Isach told Eddie Howe he wants to leave Newcastle United last season. Incredibly, Isak had actually told Eddie Howe about his decision to call time on his Newcastle United career when the 2024-25 season was still going on. That is according to The Athletic and David Ornstein, who have dropped a fresh bombshell with regards to the Isak situation. According to The Athletic, Isak actually told Howe that he wants to leave 2 weeks before the end of last season. They add that he then reinforced his stance to the Newcastle United manager after the loss to Everton on the final day of the season. That was the day that the Magpies secured Champions League qualification. Even when Newcastle were still pushing to qualify for the Champions League, Isak had made it clear that he wants to leave. That is extremely disappointing. What Alexander Isach is now saying about his Newcastle United future, fast forward to the present day, and the situation has only gotten worse. Isak is training on his own, while he is not going to be involved in the Magpies Premier League opener against Aston Villa. In fact, he may never represent the club again. The Athletic state, Isak never wants to play for Newcastle United again and has no plans to reintegrate into the squad. It is another huge twist in this roller coaster of a story. That puts the pressure back on Newcastle, as even if they keep him at St. James's Park for another year, they might not be able to play him. It is an absolute mess of a situation, and one that has completely tarnished Isak's legacy at St. James's Park. For many, he would have been considered a Newcastle United legend for what he did in the 2025 Carabao Cup final. 5 months later, it is quite spectacular how things have unraveled.